Welcome to the Only Women Entrepreneurs podcast, also known as O. I'm Rosemary Cescolini, your host, former high school teacher turned successful entrepreneur simply by pursuing an alternative career in manufacturing. Now I run O, an initiative designed to empower young women to explore careers in construction, manufacturing, and entrepreneurship. Here you'll discover inspiring success stories, also challenges that face women daily, valuable insights from all women who have become their own bosses and paved the way for generations of female entrepreneurs. I will also feature guests who are my clients, as well as women I've collaborated with on a variety of personal projects. I'm so excited to speak to our guest. Let's get started right now. On today's show, I will be speaking to one of my personal clients who I've worked with on a number of projects. My company, Royal Door Limited, supplies her with unfinished products where she transforms them into award-winning designs that have been featured on the covers of magazines such as Homes, Magazine's Best of Ontario, and Upcountry Living. She is a visionary designer who has turned her passion for transforming spaces into a thriving career. Originally a real estate professional in Toronto, Karin's talent for staging her own listings sparked a love for design that couldn't be ignored. Making a bold decision to focus solely on staging and later completing the interior decorating program at George Brown College in Toronto, she is the emerging force behind Karin Kolb Interiors. Today, her design magic extends to homes, cottages, ski chalets, country residences, and even exotic properties in Toronto, the Kawarthas, Collingwood, and the beautiful island of Barbados. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Hi, Rosemary. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's start with transitioning from a traditional career path to entrepreneurship can be extremely challenging for anyone, especially for women. Can you share a pivotal moment or specific experience that inspired you to take the leap and start your own business? Or was there some sort of circumstance that led you to become self-employed in interior design?
In interior design specifically, 100% you have more flexibility when you're working for yourself, right? And, I do have a family, and it's definitely, more flexible as in working for yourself than working for someone else. You can set your own hours, you can work as hard as you want or as little as you want, take on projects or say no to projects, depending on, what you need for your own schedule. Yeah.
Right. And okay, so those are all positive things for entrepreneurship. So what are some of the downsides, the negative things that, young women that maybe don't have the experience in entrepreneurship or even interior design, some of the pitfalls that they would have to be wary of?
Well, 100% is not a steady salary, right? So you don't know when the next job is coming. And that can be very stressful. So if you are able to ride that out, periods where you're not as busy, then you're fine. The one thing is, running your own business, you do need to have that drive, because I am working all the time on my business, all the time. And if it's not actually working on a project, it's working on my business, working on my website or on the Instagram, keeping the Instagram going daily with the stories and everything else, all of the marketing I do, right? It is nonstop. Actually, I've taken the interior design program business of design program with Kimberly Selden, and what her philosophy is that running an interior design business is 80% business and 20% creative, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is.
For sure.
I mean, I work more on my business than working on projects, to be honest. So you have to understand you've got to work hard, and you may not see the results right away, but it will come.
Yeah.
Something I say to myself all the time is, Karin, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So just relax.
Exactly.
It'll come, right?
You've been in interior design for how many years?
Running this business for 4 years.
4 years. And you know what, for
Yes.
me, that would be still the infancy stage,
Yes. Yeah.
where you're going to probably micromanage a lot of things yourself. But as
Yes.
you scale your business, and I'm talking from my own personal experience, when I started off, and I'm going back 30 years. So many of the aspects like production was dealt with family members because it is a family owned business. But as demand grew, we found that it was more important for us to get out there and do the sales and marketing and leave the production to individuals that were capable. And that
Mhm.
freed up my time. So that
Yes.
would be something to consider down the line. And also in terms of, yeah, there's thin periods and there's feasting periods during a business. And everyone should be aware, yes, entrepreneurship is very difficult. And
Mhm.
it's challenging, and
Yeah.
it's not for the faint of heart. And that's why I even offer personal development coaching, because you really have to have the mindset and the tenacity to continue, because we're all going to hit obstacles. And I think one of the biggest obstacles we had was during COVID, and everybody was shut down except our industry. We were deemed essential.
Yeah.
So we had our employees, they didn't want to come into work simply because they were being paid to stay home. And then all of a sudden there was a surge in demand. And then we're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to sell, produce, deliver? We didn't have to market because we were just swamped. But we came down with a plan, and it was like working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. But
Yes.
doing those years, which was really good, you kind of save for a rainy day. And then when the slimmer times happen, you do have something in the bank to carry you through. So that would be, my advice to everyone when they are in that business, to put something aside for
Yeah.
sure.
Sure. And then also investing in your business on a regular basis.
100%. Just keep
Um,
going. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's important, especially in our field, is because it's so visual, to have the website, to have the Instagram, to have the professional photos, to be doing the videos and all of that on a regular basis, keeping it fresh, uploading new projects, all of that. So, so important. And I do spend a lot of money putting back into my business. And that is something that you have to deal with very early on, is to getting that out there, is to invest in money into the business. And it's hard to see it, like the earnings that you make go into, web design or whatever, professional
yeah.
photos, stylists for those professional photos. It's a lot that goes in behind those scenes.
Wow.
And so it is it's not an easy road,
No,
but
no, but it is a necessity, the investment, because if you're not investing in yourself and putting yourself out there, then your competitors are doing that, and they already have a slight advantage. So that's the best way to
yes.
approach it. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So can you explain to our audience what your role is on a typical day for Karin Kolb? What do you do? Like, how do you interact with your clients, your trades? What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, let's see. Today, I'll give you an example of today. Tuesday, after a long weekend, I already had 2 phone calls from my contractors who are working on different projects. So I have doing a project in Mississauga. That's a full house, 3,000 square feet. Of course, I get daily regular questions from him. Where are we putting the shower head? This, that, fine-tuned questions when we're in construction. So from him. And then my other contractor is doing a primary bathroom. He called me. I need to meet his team to discuss the shower bench like we do. I'm doing a site visit right after this on that project. I have Caitlin here, who is my junior designer, and she's answering emails that came in over the weekend, information that needs to get sent to Michelle. She does all my drawings, any revisions that need to get made. So I've got her up and running right now with working on that end of things. And here I am with you. And then I'm going off to the site visit after this. And then because I am also a mom, I'm taking my 14-year-old to the dermatologist and then running some errands to get her ready for camp.
Okay.
And then I'll be back to my desk answering emails, that kind of thing, right? There's always revisions for drawings. Maybe clients will be emailing me with questions. Oh, the other thing too, before I had this was a new client that called me. So I had an intake call with her just before that, and she's got an urgent project that needs to get started. They're starting construction in September, and this was a referral from the actual structural interior designer firm that I work with. They referred me to her.
Right.
So yeah, that's my day.
That sounds like you interact with a lot of people. And, my next question is, so how do you find it dealing with the trades? I know it's mostly male dominated. How do males, like, I guess I'm assuming plumbers, carpenters, how do they respond with a woman boss?
You know what? I think guys in construction are pretty used to, well, at least, okay, let's put it this way. My team are used to me, right?
Right.
I find if I go on to, if I'm on a project where it's the client's contractor and I don't know this contractor, I start a working relationship with them, it could go two ways. They could not like working with the female designer because they think we're, have some designers have a reputation of being like, a bit of a princess or, not a good reputation. And other contractors, of course, all male, are love our ideas and love working with us. For me, I try not to think of it as a male female thing when I'm on a job site. It's
Right.
just your contractor, this is the job that needs to get done, and let's just stick with business, right?
Exactly. That's a good
Most of the
attitude.
time, 90% of the time, it's just straightforward business. Everybody respects each other, and it's great. But I have had the odd time where a contractor really kind of gets his back up.
I was
If
going to
I,
add, that was my next question.
right?
So what happened when you met with some resistance and they just didn't want to work with you? I've had those
Yeah,
situations myself. So how do you
yeah.
respond to that?
I
Or do you,
don't. I just keep moving forward. I don't engage. I just, I be
but do
professional,
they continue on the
respectful.
project or
Yeah.
do, and
Well,
then,
you have to
okay.
because you're working for the client. It's their
Right.
contractor,
Right. So,
right?
so everybody's
Yeah.
on pins and needles, but you're trying to reach
Yes.
the end goal, right?
I think once your personality comes through that you're
Right.
professional, you're not a princess on site. You know what you're talking about, and
That's
you're
true.
making their life easier in the end. I
Correct.
mean, we actually really do help obviously we help the contractor. When a designer, when a good designer is on site or working on a project in correlation with a contractor, things run a lot smoother, right? There are no
Absolutely.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Like, I think what has helped me over the years when I had to deal with the male dominated clients is I had to know all my information and I had
Mhm.
to answer their questions so that they felt comfortable with me. Once they realized that I was, the real deal and I was able
Yes.
to recommend products and also provide solution to some of the issues they may have had on site, they kind of began to respect me. And they ask for me now if we have male salesmen, but no, they'll say, hey, is Rosemary in? I want to speak to her because she's worked with me in other projects and they've been very successful. So they gain confidence in you for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next question is, many women may hesitate to take this leap into entrepreneurship due to the fear of failure. And failure is not just entrepreneurship, it's just failure at doing anything like playing a sport or trying something new. So, what advice do you have specifically for aspiring young women entrepreneurs looking to pursue a career in design or related fields?
Well, failure is something that is going to happen for sure. But you would learn from that, right? So, as I said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I've had many failures in the last 4 years where you've made mistakes. Actually, I shouldn't call them failures, mistakes that sometimes cost costly mistakes that you take those as lessons, right? So you learn from those and you'll never make those mistakes again. Every day we learn. So I try and think about that anytime something goes wrong, or, you feel a little bit of a setback, that it's an opportunity to learn for sure.
Exactly. And I have to concur with that. There were some designs that I had come up over the past design myself. And I thought, oh, they would be a great idea for for Canada or for North America. And I get a lot of my design concepts from Europe when I travel. I always take notes and I draw sketches.
Yeah.
And I tried, introducing those types of concepts, and you know what? They weren't warmly recepted. So I decided, okay, let's just figure out and stick to what works for our tastes and climate.
Yeah, running your own business is not for the faint of heart, for sure.
Now,
But you got to keep going.
do you
Yeah.
have any specific example of something that you considered as a learning curve, shall we call it, instead of a failed experience?
It's a specific incident that happened. You want to hear all about it?
Sure. Well, we need to let our listeners know that this O podcast is women talking about the good things, the bad things, and the things that could go wrong, and the good things that can go right. So let's be
Okay.
honest about it.
I'm trying to think of a way of how I can put this nicely is, you know, I guess in our field, we can't let clients push us around or change our system, right? They are not professionals in the interior design business, right?
Exactly.
And we are. That's why you hire us. So, as I had mentioned before, I have done the Business of Design program with Kimberly Selden. She's a famous Canadian designer, and she runs a program called Business of Design. And when you come out of design school, they do not teach you how to run a business. They teach you, colors and scale and, traffic flow and how to design a kitchen and bathroom and all that, drawings, but they don't teach you how to run a business. And, as I said before, like the business side is like 80% and the creative side is only about 20. So I took Kimberly's program and it has changed my business dramatically, not only in how I run projects, client satisfaction, but also
Right.
in my own profitability. Okay, so getting to this issue. We have a specific 15-step system for running any project, right? So, and I try not to veer from that. But once you stray from that system, things can go wrong. So in this particular situation, a client who I'd been working with said, okay, we're doing our kitchen, but we've already got the plans. We just want you to look at them. And because I didn't design the kitchen and I wasn't fully immersed in the project, I was only brought in just to make, recommendations.
All right.
They weren't taking my advice on some things. This is particularly where they were putting the bar sink in this kitchen. The huge kitchen here in Lawrence Park. So they had a 10-foot island. The main sink was going in the island. And then they had a bar sink next to the stove, on the range wall.
Right.
And I was not fully involved. And they asked me to recommend the plumbing. So I had the plans and I'm looking at the plans and I see the sink cabinet is 30 inches, which is massive for a sink, for a bar sink.
Yeah, that is big.
On the range wall. It's a 30-inch cabinet. So I thought, oh, you can put my thought is always we put the largest sink in possible for the sink cabinet. Why would I put a 15-inch sink in a 30-inch cabinet, right? So I recommended a 27-inch because I'm not fully invested in this project. It was like, okay, we'll do 27-inch. They ordered a 27-inch sink. They did not end up putting it where I had recommended to put the sink. It was too close to an appliance cabinet. So the millwork came right down to the side of the sink.
Oh.
And it got templated for the countertops, porcelain countertops. I think the countertop quote for this particular job was $44,000. So when it was a slab that went up the backsplash, they had waterfall edges on the island. So it's like a lot of porcelain. The porcelain's an expensive material. So on this back wall, thank God it was my, it's a long story, but they ended up using my stone fabricator because the contractor didn't have a stone fabricator that can cut porcelain. So are you sure you want to hear this whole story? Because it's long.
I'm listening to the price tab of $44,000.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. Holy.
We got this 27-inch sink on site, which the inside measurement is 25 inches. It's a nice size supplementary sink, which I thought they wanted because she approved it as well. Anyway, it goes in, and my clients and even the guy who my clients who are the stone fabricator, he was like, oh, it's really kind of close to the appliance garage, which is the millwork comes right down to the countertop. And I was like, okay, so that's what they wanted. And the sink shouldn't be there in the first place, but that's their decision. My client calls me and says, why is the sink so big? We don't want this. So basically, ultimately I had to take responsibility for this.
Yep.
We had to pull out that countertop. I said, well, we have to pull out the countertop and put a smaller sink in. And guess who had to pay for that? Me.
Yours truly, I know.
Yeah.
That happens. That's one of the things that happen. Yes.
Yeah. And it was a small section thank God, a small section of the countertop. It cost me $4,000 to replace this portion of it. And then I also had to buy them a new sink.
And that was a considerable amount of money, even though, a lot of money. It's out of your pocket too, right?
Totally. Right. And, but I was like, well, you have to make things right. And I would, of course, I owned up to it. I'm like, ultimately it was my mistake. But the problem was I was not fully invested in this because I didn't do the design. And we were not following the path of my system of me being fully involved with this kitchen project, or else this would not have happened. And so I blame myself, right? So why did I let them say, oh no, we only need your advice on this? And then I got burned in the end.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel for you. I completely understand.
Yeah. So
that happens to us too. Don't stray from that path 100%, because you regret it.
I regret it big time. Do not let clients push you to do something you're not comfortable with. Okay. We only want advice on these few things. Well, yeah, it's
true, and clients, they do persist. Like they ask us, they'll see something in a magazine or on Instagram, and I'll investigate it. And I say, well, listen, this product is used in hot places like Florida, or Barbados, and it's not going to work here. I guarantee there's going to be structural failure within a year, if not 6 months.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, but I really like it. I love it. Yeah. Now, at the beginning, you kind of like bow down to that client pressure, right? You want to keep them happy. But like you said, the moment you stray from your formula, your proven way of doing things, that's when you're going to regret it. So one instant, we created this design for a person down in your area. So on the Bridle Path, one of the very, very expensive areas of Toronto. And we told them, this is going to happen, guaranteed. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. If something happens, we'll take full responsibility. We won't bother you or anything like that. I kid you not, within 6 months, they started having issues, which we had told them. And they completely said, nope, this is unacceptable. You should have known. And they kind of bent and twisted. Long story short, the same thing. I said to them, listen, this is the type of design I recommend that will outlast and be a very good product. Yeah. And honestly, if you don't like the design, I'm willing to pay for another manufacturer to put something that you like. Mm-hmm. So they ended up going for option 2, and we ended up paying for it. And then again, within 6 months, they called me. And I said, well, I can't help you this time. I gave you option 1 of the design that I thought would be perfect for your situation, but you had me purchase a competitor's product, you thought it was superior, and then when it failed, why did you call me? Why didn't you call the manufacturer? Well, the
Yeah.
manufacturer didn't even want to hear about it. They just took the money, said thank you very much. And
Yeah.
one thing I find for longevity in any business is you have to take responsibility. And you know what? If you make a mistake, you own up to it, because that creates credibility and respect with customers. And most of my customers are like you. They are long term. It's not just one sale of product and bye, have a nice life. No, I have to deal with you, and I love dealing with professionals like you, because we were just straight up. And I think that would be my advice for young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about the design industry is ever evolving with new trends, technologies constantly emerging. I
Mhm.
don't know how on earth you stay up to date and ensure your designs remain fresh and relevant in this dynamic landscape. Do you mind explaining that?
You know why? Because we're in it day to day. I'm going to showrooms on a pretty regular basis. We're in touch with our reps um, regularly, and they will always point out anything new that's coming. And, if we ever have some quiet time, let's say we don't have anything in the schedule for an afternoon, or Caitlin and I would go out and say, okay, we call it a field trip. Let's go on a field trip, and we'll go to some of our favorite showrooms and say, okay, show us what's new out here. Yeah. So that, Instagram is also, you can see trends happening on Instagram, clients, what they like, we can explore certain things. Yeah, clients sometimes drive us to find new product as well.
Right.
So a combination of all of those things for sure.
Your passion for transforming spaces and creating beautiful interiors really shines through in your work. Could you tell us about a project that was particularly fulfilling and brought you a great sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, actually, we just completed a project in Mississauga. And it was the best project I've ever done. I would have to say these clients hired me through I was referred to them from a contractor I was working with here in Midtown, and they didn't know me. They had only seen a little bit on my website, and I went for the initial consultation. We really clicked, and it was a full gut renovation of this 6,000 square foot house on this acre property. It's absolutely stunning. And the clients had the money to spend. This was also lovely, and we were fully on the same page with design aesthetic. So we really clicked. They did the full turnkey. So right down to the last throw pillow, we did the entire house top to bottom, and we just had that photographed. So I had to do that in 2 sessions because the house was so large. I had it styled with a professional stylist, and my professional photographer just completed that, and we're actually submitting that to be published. So fingers crossed on that one. But I
That's
walk in
great. I
there,
can't wait
and
to see it for
I
sure.
I have the photos. I'm dying to share them on Instagram, but I can't right now. So if you're submitting for publication, you can't share the photos on your website
That makes
or on
sense.
Instagram. Yeah. And we just submitted, I think, 2 weeks ago. However, when I walk into this house, I am just absolutely blown away. I'm like, I can't believe that I did this. And,
Yeah.
for a designer to see something that they, went from your mind to drawings and then implemented, and then your clients are living in it and really happy with it. I mean, they love their house and they're really, really happy with our work. I mean, it's most fulfilling for us. The most fulfilling thing ever is to see that from the
Wow.
mind to actually turning into a finished home.
That's
And
amazing. I'm getting chills
thrilled.
because I have that similar experience too.
Yeah.
I got that feeling when I saw you tagged us on your post about Lawrence Crescent.
Yeah.
And it was featured in Homes Magazine Best of Ontario. We had
Yeah.
supplied you with a single panel shaker doors,
Yes.
and the blue that you used in that house was just so uplifting, amazing. It just, brightens your spirits. If you're coming home from maybe a tough day at work and you walk into that house, it was just
Yeah.
like, it was breathtaking. It was just
Yeah.
so, so nice.
That project actually was very fulfilling as well. I mean, that house went from, and they were friends of mine actually. So that was, and that was during COVID. We did that project,
Wow.
but that was transformed. Like her house before was really, it was really dated, and it was very dramatic before and after. And those clients were so appreciative and trusting, just like the ones in Mississauga. Again, that is the formula for success, I have to say, right?
Oh, of
I'm
course.
happy, they're happy. It's a winning combination. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that project, the one at Lawrence Crescent, was a little bit more challenging in the fact that when you're working for friends or family, you must have had incredible pressure, because if it doesn't turn out the way, they were envisioning it, it could also jeopardize your relationship with them.
Yeah, I made sure that that would not happen,
That's
you
good.
know,
That's
right?
yeah, of
So
course.
you try, make sure that will not happen at all. So, um,
That's
mhm.
that's great. So
It was
you're
Our Homes Magazine, by the way, not Homes Magazine.
oh, our
Our Homes
homes, yes.
Magazine, that's of
Our homes,
Ontario. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. Okay, let's correct
yeah.
that. Our homes magazine of Ontario, Best of
So,
Ontario, which
yeah,
yeah, if anybody searches online, I'm sure they'll see that, or on your social media, which will
it's
let everybody know at the end.
yeah, and it's on my website as well.
Perfect.
Hmm.
So your journey from we're going back to your real estate days
Yeah.
to interior design, like, and then we also added a third career, dental hygienist, which kind of really blew me away.
Yes.
So if you have, like, one thing I really want to encourage young women is I want them to find the right career path the first time around,
Hmm.
because I'm finding a lot of women like myself. I started as a high school teacher and then found out afterwards that it just wasn't for me, and I kind of changed it around. I would have really changed my direction with educational background and career choice. So I want to save young women with that. What advice would you give them when they are considering solidifying a career later on in, senior years of high school? What should they think about?
It really is hard to know what you want to do when you're that age, to be honest. But the only advice I would say is really just follow your passion, right? Whatever you love to do in your free time, go that route, because you will do well in it, right? If you love it, and sometimes I guess, if you're considering going into interior design or real estate or construction, I mean, there should be more women in construction,
I
actually.
agree.
I actually thought about maybe rolling into being a general contractor, right?
Well,
Because
yeah,
wouldn't
actually,
that be a niche?
there's only 5% of women in Canada that are actually in construction. So
Yeah,
there is a huge, huge need, and there's a lot of government programs
yeah,
that are just opening the doors. They're
yeah.
paying for your education and providing you with a job as soon as you've have the acquired skills needed to go on site.
Yeah. But okay, so I mean, it's a thought that I had, but if you're thinking about any of these fields, I would reach out to someone like myself, a business owner, and say, you know what, can I just follow you around, or like how go take me for a coffee or a glass of wine, and we can talk about how you get into the field, right? I actually had a girlfriend who
I
is
like that.
double PhD. And she messaged me and she said, I want to talk to you about going into interior design. I was like, wait a minute, why? You have a double PhD,
Really?
U of T as a researcher. Anyway, it needs to follow that. She loves it. And she had renovated several homes of her own. She's really talented. And I just kind of gave her direction on how to start a business.
Right.
Um, and if you want to hear my advice for her, because
Sure.
she's in her 40s. it has 2 kids and has renovated 2 homes. And I said to her, the best thing to do at this age, and I think this is what I did for myself when I started my business 4 years ago, start photographing your own work. So start with that and it will snowball. Work on your Instagram page, create a website, and then, start showcasing your work to your friends and your family. Right? Because they're the ones that are coming into your home. And oh my God, Sarah, or sorry, I shouldn't have said her name.
I'm
Karen,
pretty sure
say my name.
there's a lot of women with similar names, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, your house is so beautiful. And this thing, well, you know what, I'm just starting my interior design business. And, maybe we could talk about how I can help you with your project. I also recommend that, she take the business of design with Kimberly Seldon. She could do the interior design program or decorating program at George Brown or a similar college, that kind of thing. But I would say for young people is to go and speak to somebody that's in the field, pick their brain. We're
Great
happy to.
idea.
I was really, really, because I love what I do so much. I was so excited to talk to her about her starting her career. Right. And I would be happy to do that with anybody. So there are a lot of women that would support you. If you, asked if you could take them for a glass of wine, probably more appealing than a coffee.
Of course. Yeah, I think so too.
Especially for us older gals. Right?
Yeah, we'd enjoy that after a long day's work for sure. Maybe we'll do that sometime.
Yeah.
I was, you hit the nail on the head, what you said about it's not only young women that are just trying to find themselves in a specific career, but one of the missions of this podcast is also to let women who are perhaps in a career right now and they're not enjoying it. They're not having the best life possible. And like you said earlier, you got to be passionate about something. Can you actually see something that you're doing for the rest of your life? And if you can't envision that, then you know what? That's probably a strong indicator that this career is not for you. And you should really, really dig deep on your passions.
Yeah.
I am 100% in agreement on that. Networking and building professional relationships are often emphasized as crucial for career growth. How has your networking played a pivotal role in your journey as an entrepreneur and full service designer? And what advice do you have for women looking to expand their network exclusively? Like you mentioned, Kimberly Seldon, which would probably be a terrific resource, but anyone else that comes to mind?
Well, that was for the program that she offered.
Right.
In terms of networking, for when I started my business, it was really kind of advertising what I had done personally through family and friends. And then in terms of running, so that's how I kind of started getting clients. And then in terms of the day to day, I want to say trade relationships are so important. I'm very, very loyal to the companies that I work with, my suppliers.
Right.
Yeah, and they end up like contractors. Okay, so I have my 2 favorite contractors. They refer me business. I refer them business, and same with my suppliers. When you build strong trade relationships with your suppliers, I mean, is key. And also for delivering exceptional customer service, right? I go to the same suppliers for everything. If I need doors, I go to Royal Door. Right?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. Yeah. For example.
And
right?
we do the same thing. We do the
supply.
referrals. That
Yes.
is very, very important. Anybody in the Toronto area or like you said, Collingwood that are struggling with interior design and, maybe a renovation or a new build. And you're willing to go there now that I've learned something that you do travel, which is incredible because some designers, they only stay in a geographical area, but you're willing to move around and that's great.
I mean, it's because I have a property in near Collingwood. So at a ski club up there, and it's just, again, it was people coming over to my ski chalet and saying, oh, I love this. You should help me with mine. Right. So that's how
great.
you get, and then also advertising on social media. Like I have to say, a ton of my business, the majority of my business comes through Instagram.
Okay.
And then they will check out my website and then things snowball from there, or referrals from friends who say, oh, you should check out Karen's Instagram. Instagram has been a huge tool for me. for my business, and it's free.
Yeah, it's a very good social media platform to get yourself out there. I agree
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
That
And
we found new
hashtags.
clients too, the hashtag.
Yeah. And
So
tagging my suppliers, right? So you share my
right.
photos and I'll share yours. I'll promote Royal Door, you promote Karin Kolb Interiors, and that's how it gets going.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's excellent advice. So,
Yeah.
Karin, you did mention where our listeners can find you on social media, but specifically, where can they? What's your hashtag on Instagram and your website?
So website is www.karinkolbinteriors.com, and Instagram is at Karin Kolb Interiors. Karin with an I.
Karin. And we'll
Kol.
put that in the show notes so that people can check on the spelling. But
Yes.
those are the places you can find Karin if you are need help in pursuing a career or becoming an entrepreneur. She can give you some real estate tips or interior design, as well as anyone interested in hiring a top-notch interior designer. You will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for being a guest on the O podcast. And I really look forward to working with you on future projects and perhaps seeing your next edition on the cover of a magazine. That was very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. And I hope they share this episode so others can tune in as well. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you don't miss out on future shows. And make sure you come and interact with me over on Instagram. The hashtag is Only Women Entrepreneurs. And if you require further information or guidance for career selection or starting up your own business, be sure to look me up on my website, onlywomenentrepreneurs.com, where I offer individualized training and business programs as well as personal development. I'm so excited to connect with my audience on my next podcast, where I will be featuring another top-notch entrepreneur. Her specialty is the distilling of spirits. Thank you and have a great day.